TDS is a tower defense game on Roblox that is over 6 years old. And because of its age, many towers have had to be changed since their original version due to the environment of the game changing. A great example of this is Minigunner. To say 2019 Mini would not hold up in 2025 would be an understatement. They normally go about these changes by reworking the tower, changing their stats and upgrading their looks, but keeping the idea of the tower the same. We have gotten a lot of reworks over the past few years, with most of the reworks being a buff to their respective tower. And most of the reworks recently have been well received. However, there is one rework that has happened recently that was so bad, that it completely ruined the tower for me and many others. So join me today as I tell you about the worst rework in TDS history. So in my opinion, the worst tower rework in TDS history is the slasher rework that came with the 2024 Hexescape event. Yes, the rework that turned the bald guy wielding a knife into Solid Snake from Fortnite, I mean from Smash Brothers, I mean from Metal Gear Solid, was the worst rework in TDS history. In case you don't know, the slasher in current TDS is a melee tower that is supposed to function as a mid-game single-target damage dealer. The old slasher was a melee tower that was used as an early to mid-game single-target and crowd control tower. The crowd control part of it came from its ability to throw its knife as a ranged attack. And that leads to my first complaint about the rework, is that it lost its knife throw ability. If you guys didn't know, Slasher, back then known as Shredder, was introduced with the 2019 Halloween event, where it had a special ability to throw its knife. And it still kept this attribute when it got reworked in the hardcore update, so it has had its knife throw ability all its life, and players got used and attached to that ability. A lot of players, including me, liked and used Slasher just because they liked the idea of a melee tower having a ranged attack. It became the tower's main gimmick, and in the rework, they completely took that away, which was the thing that made Slasher unique. I know some people will say that the bleed mechanic is its new unique ability, but that's not the point. It's like if they gave Crook Boss a massive stat and placement limit buff, but took away its ability to spawn crooks. Like, yeah, the stat buff is nice, but removing or replacing a key component of a tower when it has had that component for all its life is going to really upset people who have liked the tower for a long time. And it's not like the bleed mechanic is that unique, it's just a damage over time effect which several other towers have, and I'll get into the big damage at 30 stacks later. For now though, let's move on to my next big topic on why the rework sucked. It actually nerfed Slasher. Even though Slasher wasn't that good pre-rework, I would say like B tier, the rework was a huge nerf, and I'll explain why. But first, we need to look at all of the other melee towers in the game. They have something in common, all of them except Gladiator, which I'll get to soon, all have a way to stall the enemies. This is important because the stalling is used to keep enemies in its range because they have a very small range. Warden, probably the most similar tower to Slasher, is a great example of this. Warden also focuses on single target damage, but the reason why he works and not Slasher is because Warden can keep stunning the enemy, keeping it in its range, thus giving it more time to attack. And Gladiator focuses on crowd control, and also sucks, so no stunning doesn't really affect him. Slasher is supposed to be the perfect counter to medium HP enemies like Fallen Giant, but how is it supposed to do that when the Fallen Giant can just walk out of its range and Slasher has nothing to keep it in its range? And you could theoretically place another one, but that would set you back a whole $31,000 per Slasher, which is insane. And let's circle back to that big damage at 30 stacks. It's so complicated and so useless that if I wasn't told that it was a thing, I probably wouldn't even notice it. Like in this example here, I spent like $62,000 to deal 7,000 damage to Duck-a-Doom, and this is supposed to be the boss killer melee tower. At least the old Slasher did its job somewhat well, this new Slasher can't do his job right for $31,000. So that's why the slasher rework was the worst rework in TDS history. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna keep this section brief because the video originally ended here. The brand new Assassin Tower feels like a slap in the face to slasher fans. The Assassin Tower is exactly what the slasher rework should have been. Primarily early to mid-game melee tower, has a knife throw, both single target and crowd control, and relatively cheap. These are all things that the Assassin is that the slasher also was pre-rework. The Whirlwind Slash also could have been a cool new ability with the rework like the track change came with the DJ rework. I just don't understand why they had to make a separate tower with a knife throw when Slasher is a tower basically known for his knife throw ability. It just feels like the devs said to all the Slasher fans, this is what we could have given you, but instead we gave you this. So in conclusion, please fix this tower. I don't necessarily have any strong feelings towards it, but I really want to see this tower have a good comeback story. That's all folks.